minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this nice-looking Friday morning. Hope you're doing well. We're just 6 days away from the day that we sit down and we all give thanks, and we have this beautiful table of food, and sometimes we don't even remember that food that's there had some workers out in the field, picking the corn and raising those turkeys and all of that, and of course you give thanks for that, but you don't really realize what those people have to go through, and not that we don't want them to do it. We do want them to do it, but we want them to be as safe as possible, and I think that sort of can piggyback onto what we want to talk about right now. Lisa Garcia, I believe Lisa's been with us before, right, Robin?
Yes, she has.
Lisa is on the phone. She is the Vice President of Litigation for Health at Earth Justice, and one of the things she wants to talk to us about is a proposal by the Environmental Protection Agency to ban a pesticide called chlorpyrifos. I'm probably saying that wrong. It's a neurotoxic pesticide. That doesn't sound good. Neurotoxic. Lisa Garcia. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Larry and Robin. Thank you for having me back on the show. How are you?
Oh, you're welcome. Where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling in from New York City, but I was actually in Florida last week, so I'm missing the warmer weather.
Do you know when you ate an apple when you were a kid? I don't know if this was true for you. I'm hoping it was. But my mother would always say, wash the apple, because there's poison on it. You got to wash the apple. Remember that?
Yeah, mine too.
Right? Got to wash it.
I
right?
still wash the apples.
So can you imagine? I'm gonna eat it, and I have to wash it first. But meanwhile, there was a worker who picked hundreds of thousands of apples with poison on them the whole time.
Probably snacking.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe even snacking. Yeah. I mean, it is kind of crazy when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's why this is exactly why this topic is so pressing, certainly for Earth Justice and many of the farm worker associations that we're working with, is really trying to ban some of the most toxic neurotoxin pesticides, because they do spray the pesticides on the crop or on plants. I did a great tour actually south of Ocala and north of Orlando on some of the farms out in Florida. And so it's just really interesting to see some people will actually have garbage bags on to protect themselves, or, put something over their mouth like a towel. But I really think it's the role of the federal government and the governments to make sure that there are these protections in place to protect our farm workers. So it's a great time to say thank you to our families and thank you for the food that we have, but also thank you to the farm workers that put food on our table, and hopefully we can work to make them safer.
Yeah, well said. I want to focus a little bit on the word neurotoxin, and I'm going to do it this way, and I might be wrong, so I'll just give you that as a disclaimer. When I was a kid, here in Florida, there was a lady, like 17 years old, there was a lady who called up because I was a boy. And I had a shovel. And she said, she was an old lady, I have a snake in my yard. Would you come kill the snake? And I said, oh, my God. Oh, hold on. Let me go get a shovel. So I went and got this shovel. Now, this was what do you call it? A coral snake?
Coral snake.
A coral snake. Okay. So there was a coral snake, and there was another snake right next to it. And the other snake was tied in a knot. I am not exaggerating.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I said, well, one looks like it's dead already, Mrs. whatever her name was. And I popped the other one in half. Okay, now, I'm sorry,
wow.
I did. That's what I was asked to do. The reason I was told that the other snake, because keep in mind that I was a New Yorker. I moved to Florida when I was 17.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. I had a shovel. So, all right, so I cut the snake in half, and now I'm told that if that snake had bitten me, the little one, was the toxic one. It would affect your nervous system. And that's what it did to the other snake. It made it tie itself in a knot. It hit the nervous system. So that's what the word neurotoxic sounds like to me. Am I on the right track?
Well, it definitely, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know about snakes and poisons. I apologize.
But it affects your
and what it would do. But it does affect, yeah. So it would affect your nervous.
Your nervous system.
Nerves. Yeah, your nerves, and and we know that goes from your brain to your spinal cord. I mean, basically, it helps us control a lot of our movements and our sensations and feelings. So sometimes you see it. if someone has a problem, maybe they're shaking or there's a twitch. I mean, there's different ways that it
could be
plays
that.
out, but the point is that it's a very essential piece to our self and being and how we how we live day to day and why it's so important. And especially some of the concerns is that if the toxin itself is carried or ingested, how it would affect a baby, so in vitro, how it would affect certainly women of childbearing age, and that's a big issue anyway, and the way that it would affect our brain and how we're functioning just generally. So there's a lot of different pathways and concerns when we talk about being exposed to these types of toxins. So I haven't put snakes on the list.
well, I hope you got my point, because if it affects your nervous system, then even if it's a small, if it's doing the same thing on a small scale, it still sounds pretty scary. Do we use this as a pesticide because that's what it does to the bugs? It affects their nervous systems?
So pesticides are definitely in different. There's different impacts to I would say to the bugs, but essentially it is to either keep them away or to kill them. And it's not. I don't assume that they base it on such great studies on the actual pest itself, whether it's neurological for them. But I think what originally happened is that the studies were done to figure out the effectiveness of keeping our crops healthy and not dying off and not being infested by pests. And now the studies are focused on what that's doing to human health instead of protecting the crop. How are we protecting the health of our people who are either ingesting it or working out there? And that's where the studies are really coming out and saying, okay, there's so many other alternatives that we can use. So you hear people talk about integrated pest management, which maybe uses alternatives, or sometimes you hear organic, that they're using different types of pesticides and really getting the same amount of crops. So that's why we think there's real alternatives to some of these.
You also have in the reports about how it affects low-income communities and communities of different races.
Yeah, so for us, when we started working on just pesticides in general, we understood that there were certain more highly toxic pesticides. So there were some that were focused on, like the chlorpyrifos, which you just mentioned, with EPA just banning it October 30th due to some of our lawsuits. But then also realizing that the workers themselves, the people being exposed directly to pesticides, the farm workers are 80% Latino, and many of them are low income or from immigrant families. And so it really became this issue of not only is it a problem, but that the voices of a lot of the farm workers probably aren't even being heard just because of their access to some of the political decision-making or access and understanding of how you get information to the federal government. So we realized that this is a population that is not being heard but needs to be protected. And, it shouldn't matter what their income is, that they shouldn't be exposed.
Absolutely. And that's why we love watchdog groups. That's what you seem to be a part of anyway. Lisa, can you hang on? We'll take a little break. Let me put this spooky music on, and then we'll be right back.
Great.
The spooky music. Can you hear the music? We have some kids telling us it sounds like the Illuminati music. I got to change this music.
Right.
I don't even know what Illuminati is, but... Lisa, Garcia, when we come back, we'll continue our conversation. It sounds like they have done something pretty amazing and protected some workers who are making sure that we have a table full of food next Thursday and every day. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For this Friday, intervals of clouds and sun. There can be a shower or two, high 78 to 82. Partly to mostly cloudy tonight with a shower mainly along the coast. Overnight lows ranging from the mid-60s inland to 73 along the coast. For tomorrow and Sunday, mostly cloudy with scattered showers. The high tomorrow 78 to 82. Sunday's highs in the 70s. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Joe Lunder.
Hi, I'm Seth with AA Lock, Dock, and Security. Have you ever thought about the locks or security on your house or business? Have you ever wondered why the keys to your new car cost so much? Well, at AA Lock, Dock, and Security, we can help with securing your valuables. We can even replace those expensive transponder keys. We can give you the knowledge that no one else will. Call AA Lock, Dock, and Security at 867-1965. That's 867-1965.
Hi, Matt Wilkerson here, your mobile Verizon rep. But not just here, I'll deliver the phone to you in your home. While I'm there, I'll only sell you what you need and I'll personalize it to you. Want to have me get you connected? Then call me at 352-528-0020. I even offer unlimited home phone service for just $20 per month. Just call me, your mobile Verizon rep, at 352-528-0020.
If you're anything like I was, the thought of getting older was the last thing on your mind. But here we are. For me, it started slowly. The lack of energy, never being in the mood. And when I was, I could never perform at my best. I tried the pills and other treatments with minimal results, and all but given up on my sex life. Then I found the doctors at New Male Medical Center. Wow, they made a new male out of me. Feel like I'm 25 again. I have renewed vigor, so much more energy, and no longer worry about my performance. New Male treated me like my situation was one of a kind, with a custom treatment plan that really works. I feel great. They can create one for you too. It does not matter if you suffer from low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, or just want to last longer. New Male will help you.
Call New Male Medical Center today at 352-404-4779. 352-404-4779. That's 352-404-4779. It will change your life. 352-404-4779.
Join us downtown for a truly wonderful Ocala tradition, the 32nd annual Light Up Ocala, on Saturday, November 21st from 4 to 9 p.m. The highlight of the evening will be the lighting of downtown Ocala and the 42-foot Christmas tree at 6:30. There'll be live entertainment, crafts, food, children's activities, and of course, a visit by Santa. And you can stop by the WOCA booth and register for your chance to win a brand new big screen LED TV. So come, be a part of the 32nd annual Light Up Ocala.
9 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I was distracted because I was reading the paperwork that was sent with to prepare for the interview. And, we've been really, Robin, you and I have been trying for so many years to do things that we think are good for children, whether it's something simple as entertaining or being behind. What was the thing we did? The Year of the Young Child or something like that. So many years ago.
The Week of the Young Child.
Week of the Young Child.
Yeah, we did a few of those years.
So some of this has to do with children also. So I'm going to get Lisa to explain. Lisa Garcia on the phone. She's the Vice President of Litigation for Health at Earth Justice. By the way, there's a website, and I'll ask Lisa to give it because I might get it wrong. Lisa, thank you for waiting through the break again. What is your website?
Thank you. Oh, it's earthjustice.org.
Okay.
And some of the issues that we've been talking about are under our pesticides kind of feature, or click onto our Healthy Communities features to see some more information about, the pesticides issues that we're working on. But just to your point about children, the pesticide that EPA most recently banned, chlorpyrifos, even EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency's own findings showed that it causes brain damage to children and poisons workers and bystanders. So it's really a great step in protecting children, the most vulnerable, and workers and their families. And then I just also wanted to add a recent kind of victory for all farm workers, and certainly for us in trying to advocate for this, was the changes to the worker protection standard that EPA also just announced. One of the things that was really interesting is that there was never an age limit for children working on farms or working out in the fields. And for the first time, this time, children are now banned from handling pesticides in the fields. The new age is going to be 18 years old.
To handle the pesticides?
So it's really great. So at least they're an adult now. That if you look at the Department of Labor, they have standards for workers in factories and other plants dealing with toxins or dangerous pollutants, and they say you need to be an adult, essentially. And for some reason, with the farm worker kind of labor, there was never that type of same protection. And so for the first time, this is going to be on par with the Department of Labor and other types of industries. So we're really happy that no children will be handling these dangerous pesticides, while, of course, we're still working to ban the most dangerous pesticides anyway. But
Right.
at least we know there's parity for workers in that.
OSHA usually sends updated publications and bulletins to different factories that work with the different chemicals regarding the safety issues and things. Does OSHA send the same things to the farms that use the chemicals?
No, and this is one of the problems, I would say, is years ago there was some law passed, and for some reason, even though the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, like you're saying, OSHA, regulated all of these workers in different industries, farm workers were left to the Environmental Protection Agency. And so that's what we're saying, that a lot of times just this type of industry, the farm worker industry, wasn't up to par with some of the protections from OSHA and Department of Labor. So now there is going to be those types of notifications out that farm workers know today you're going to be using this pesticide, and here's the equipment you should use if it is, of a certain level of toxicity, or how to make sure that when you go home you take off your clothes and wash your hands and really cleanse so that you don't contaminate the home, or certainly children in the home. Right. So there's a lot more protections now that are going to go forward based on this new worker protection standard. And what we're saying is it's a great win, but really it's finally putting them on par and parity with other workers in the United States. So
how is it policed? How is it guaranteed that that they're abiding by the rules?
So the implementation of this new rule is going to start in 2017, January of 2017, and the EPA has what we call delegated to the states to implement it. One of the great roles, hopefully, that we can play working with our partners, the farm worker organizations on the ground, is to really help the states implement this and get it in place. And then the other thing, just once it's implemented, the federal government has said they'll have a 1-800 number and a complaint option. So if you're thinking that the state isn't complying or isn't implementing it properly, that there'd still be some oversight by EPA. But the implementation itself is going to be with the states. And we have great partners on the ground that we'll continue to work with to make sure that the states implement this. Some of these, certainly the banning children from the fields and the mandatory training and notices, all these things that are really important to protect the farm workers.
Why does it take a whole year on something like this?
So that's just the way rules usually go, is that everybody needs notice to understand the new rule, and the states need time to figure out how to implement it, and the owners and operators and also the farm workers need time to come up to speed to figure out how you would implement it and how the whole new operation would come out to play. And this is actually, as far as some of the big federal rules, when it's implemented, this is actually a shorter time frame. Sometimes states get up to 3 years to implement the new rule.
Wow.
So we're dealing with, owners and operators that may need to put in whatever it is, new boards to make sure that there are notices, or classrooms to make sure that there is mandatory training, and to figure out what those training programs would be. So there's a little bit of lag time to make sure we come up to speed and get everything in place.
Well, at the risk of sounding dramatic, I just think about next week. You're sitting at the table, you've got your mashed potatoes, it's on the spoon, it's on your plate. Think about the fact that the potatoes were picked by somebody, right? Mm-hmm. And that somebody has a life too, and that somebody's life now might be just a little bit better because they won't be exposed to something toxic because of the work that Lisa did. You can actually think next week, I'm thankful for workers that are now a little bit more protected, and I'm still going to get potatoes. Mm-hmm. We're going to do away with this one pesticide, but we're still going to get potatoes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. It is, well, I thank you for that, but it was really the work of farm workers themselves and us helping to support the work. And then, of course, the federal government coming to meet the farm workers where they are and give them the right protections. But I think it is, to your point, I think it's so important, and I certainly didn't do this as a kid, is to take that moment to think about how did my food get here, and all along the way, how we can be thankful. It's just a great moment to say, thanks for everybody who made it possible.
Wonderful,
And,
wonderfully said. Lisa, I don't mean to cut you off, but we are 20 seconds away, and I didn't want you to think I was cutting you off. So,
No.
Lisa, thank you so much. earthjustice.org is the website. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you for what you've chosen to do with your life.
Yeah, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
You're making the world a better place, Lisa. We'll be right back.
Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Word that more than 100 people are being held hostage at a hotel in Mali after it was stormed by gunmen.
25 U.S. military personnel were in Bamako at the time of the incident. We understand some of these personnel are assisting first responders with moving civilians to secured locations while Malian forces clear the hotel of hostile gunmen.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin, Fox Sister Network Sky News.